I got to start with a bit of a confession. I have been struggling with coming up for ideas for this. And not because I don't have ideas. I think it's because I'm not totally sure what it is that weirds us out about supporting people when it comes to mental illness and mental health stuff. Is it because it's emotions and we're not super comfortable with emotions? Is it that we have all these ideas in our head of what mental illness is and maybe we're a little scared, or the lack of education around it? Or maybe it's even just the pressure to say the right thing or do the perfect thing or fix the person, which actually isn't possible. So you can't do that. So let's just take that right off the table right away. So I'm not sure totally what it is, but I'm going to try to incorporate all that stuff. And certainly if there are comments, if there are questions, if there's anything that helps to clarify, please feel free to leave comments or shoot me a DM or anything along those lines. Okay, so that being said, how can you support somebody who has a mental illness or mentally just doesn't seem like they're doing very well? I would say that how you support somebody probably is going to be very defined by the type of relationship you have with them and kind of the context of the relationship. How you support somebody who's a friend or a family member is going to be different than how you support somebody who is, say, a coworker or a neighbor or somebody maybe you just don't know very well, but they seem pretty cool and you feel bad that they feel bad. This should be something, whatever you do or say should be authentic to you. If you're not a hugger, don't be like, dude, do you need a hug? If that's not you, don't be that person. It just comes across as uncomfortable and weird and seems like you're trying too hard. I would say probably the most important thing is to help that person be seen. There's something really isolating about anxiety and depression. Inside your own head, it's very easy to convince yourself that you're the only person who has ever felt like this. Nobody else can possibly understand it. And where maybe you yourself have never experienced mental illness, that doesn't mean you haven't experienced the related emotions. Most of us have been through things like grief and stress. You've felt anxiety, even if you've never been diagnosed with anxiety. You know what that feels like. And that's a great place to start in terms of empathizing with that other person. If you are not much of a words kind of person, honestly, a touch on the shoulder, a quick one-armed hug if you're a hug person, a regular hug if you're a hug person, any of that stuff is helpful, is really great. Something that just says, hey, I can tell you feel like shit right now, and I just want you to know I feel bad, and I'm here for you. Without even saying those words. You also can say those words, hey, it seems like you haven't been yourself lately. I'm really sorry that you're not feeling great. I hope you're getting the help you need, or I hope you're feeling better soon. Perfect. You don't have to get super involved. You don't have to be a therapist or have any kind of coach training or anything along those lines, just to say, I see you, I support you. If you have worries about, is this person going to unload everything on you? Hard to know. You're always going to meet people who are not great with boundaries. But if you've never known this person to be somebody who is willing to just, air their laundry everywhere all the time, there's not a great chance they're going to do it now. I know for me, when people ask how I am, I won't say fine if I'm not, but very often the response you'll get from me is I'll say, well, I'm upright. And I know you don't know how to answer that, but it's basically saying, I'm not okay, but I'm here. I made it. I got out of bed today. And it doesn't invite more questions. You can easily joke it off if you want to, but it's an easy way for me to say, I'm not feeling great, but I don't need to go into it either. Of course, like I said, you do meet people who they have no filter. They're willing to unload anything and everything. And a tip I can give you there is actually something I got as a marketing tip for my business years ago. And the person, it was brilliant. She said, if you ever want to get in touch with somebody and maybe you're playing phone tag or you keep leaving voicemails and they don't get back, a really great approach is to call them 5 minutes before the hour or 5 minutes before the half hour. Because there's a great chance that meetings are scheduled to start on the hour or half hour. And if they do, obviously you won't necessarily know their schedule, but if they have something scheduled, very often they will answer a phone call in that 5 minute time frame because they had the excuse of, I have to get off the phone in 5 minutes. And I thought, that's brilliant. And you can use a similar strategy here. You can check in with somebody on the way to doing something else. Hey, I only have like 2 minutes, but I just wanted to let you know, I can tell you haven't been feeling great lately. I'm really sorry about that. And I hope you're feeling better soon. Peace out. Doesn't invite more, but you've shown that you care. It's weird and sounds kind of crass, but if you do have worries that the person is going to confess everything to you and you're just, I can't handle that, I'm not that person, totally cool. Chances are they're not going to, but if you're worried about it, that might be an approach you can use. Sometime in the last couple of years, year or two, I saw this great Instagram post, and for the life of me, I'm not gonna be able to find it again because I don't know who posted it. It was and of course, Instagram now is like, you might like this, you should watch it or check it out. And you don't necessarily follow. So I won't be able to find it again, but it was a really fun story about somebody who had, I believe they'd been going through grief. She had been living with a parent. It was like a palliative care situation. The parent had passed away, so she had sold the house, cleared the place out, and moved into her own apartment. And the whole post was her talking about how she was struggling so much with grief. She felt like such a burden to the people around her. And of course, her friends are saying, hey, when do we get to see your place? Hey, we'd love to come check it out. Hey, you should come out for drinks, whatever. And she kept putting them off. Very common behavior because you feel like a burden. You feel like you're, just launching your sadness on other people. And so the story went on to say that her best friend showed up with like 10 of their other friends at her new apartment. She hadn't unpacked anything. I think she was still like taking boxes of clothes and like getting dressed out of boxes and stuff. Hadn't unpacked anything. Like bed was a couple of mattresses with a blanket on the floor, and that was it. And so her friends showed up. They brought a lot of drinks, like beer and pop and stuff. They ordered pizza and some other kind of takeout, and they basically unpacked her entire apartment. And she said in the post, my friends took a risk here. I absolutely could have told them to F right off and never spoken to them again. But they came in with so much love and so much openness and so much care. And I recognized, although I was very put off at first, I recognized they really wanted to help me and they really wanted to be there for me, and I wasn't letting them. And so there's a line there of trying to figure out what can you push. And that is where your relationship with the person is really going to play the part there. Obviously, there are circumstances where it is highly inappropriate to push boundaries with people, and it has to be your own comfort level and it has to be matching to the relationship you have. But you may have to force a bit of a connection there. You may have to walk in instead of asking to walk in and finding where that line is. A really great example of this, I think, and I'm going to go with workplace because the workplace, obviously, you want to be very mindful of boundaries in the workplace. An example I can think of, let's say one of your coworkers who has not been feeling great or seems to not be doing very well lately, maybe they're a big coffee person. And so when you are at the store somewhere or whatever, maybe it's your spouse, your roommate, a friend of yours, whatever, is also a big coffee person, and you get a recommendation from them of a kind that they like. And then you can go to that person, that coworker that maybe you don't know super well, or, there is a boundary there. And you say, hey, I noticed that you're really into coffee. And I was chatting with whoever, my spouse, my best friend, my roommate, whoever. And they're also super into coffee. And they were raving about this kind. And I'm not a coffee person at all, but you totally popped into my head because they were so obsessed. And I've noticed you're so obsessed. So I actually have a sample here. You should try it, and you put it down in front of them. Don't say, would you like to try it? Say, you should try this. It sounds like you would really like it. Okay, have a great day. You're forcing the connection, but you're also staying within the boundary. So it's finding where that space is, because I promise you that person will appreciate it. And you've made it not embarrassing and not weird, but also said, I care about you. And I notice that something's not quite right here. On the topic of food, anytime you sort of feel like maybe this is getting weird or it's getting uncomfortable, and a little bit of uncomfortable might be par for the course, and that's, just sit with it. It's okay. But you can always end this conversation with, do you want to grab a tea? Do you want to get something to eat? And there's two things. One, food is the universal love language among humans. There is a reason that cultures are often defined very significantly by their food. There's a reason that when somebody dies, there's like an army of casseroles that shows up at their house, okay? Food is a universal love language. But more to the point, if this person is experiencing, whether it's anxiety and depression or just maybe not feeling great, there's also a good chance they're not feeding themselves very well. Maybe they haven't eaten at all today, or maybe they're just eating junk food. So you saying and having that relationship to be able to say, hey, do you want to grab a tea? Do you want to grab a quick snack from this cafe, whatever? You can totally talk about other stuff, but offering food is a universal sign of, I care about you. Okay, hopefully that gives you some ideas to work with. I know it was a little bit all over the place, but like I said off the top, please feel free to suggest stuff in the comments or shoot me a DM, whatever. Or if you know me in person and you run into me somewhere, suggest some ideas of things that maybe you struggle with in this area, and I will happily make another video about it. But hopefully this gives you a place to start.